Hello there, my dear pirates, wizards, giants, dwarves, knights, scientists, and folks who bend the fabric of space-time with their minds. How are you doing?
Fine.
Welcome to the second tutorial in the series, How to Use the Weaver. In the last video, we made a simple game using only the general node and its text, image, and options components. Check out that video first so you have a basic idea of what the Weaver is. Now, in this video, we'll be looking at how to use the input and variable components of the general node, how to integrate them with global variables, and to manipulate these global variables with the set variables node. Now, before we get into using these tools, let me give you a simple introduction of what they are. First, the global variables. The global variables can either be a string or an integer. These variables can be manipulated throughout your game, and you can structure your routing based on these variables using the if-else node. We would be looking at how to use the if-else node in the next video. Next is the input component. Using this component, you can get an input from the user and assign the given input to the global variables. Next is the variable component. This component acts as similar to the text component, but for the global variables. We can display our global variables using this variable component. And finally, the set variable node. This node can be used to manipulate or change your global variables. You can do simple algorithmic operations, assignment operations, and for strings, you can perform concatenation operations. In simple words, add a word behind and after the variable. So, now that we have a basic idea of the tools we would be using, we would be making a simple calculator using the Weaver. Our workflow will look like this. First, we'll define two global variables, x and y. In our first general node, we'll collect user inputs and assign them to these variables. Next, we'll use an options component with 4 arithmetic operations. Depending on the user's choice, a set variables node will perform the calculation. And finally, a general node will display the result using the variable node. By the way, based on helpful viewer feedback from our last video, we've made some essential updates to the Weaver. For instance, changing a component's rendering behavior is no longer a tedious process. Now, you can simply right-click any added component and update its behavior directly through the modal. Now, let's build our calculator. Open your project. Drag and drop a general node from the hamburger menu. Double-click on the node to open it. Add a new scene. Now add 2 input components, one for the x variable and other for the y variable. Now double-click on your input component and you must be able to see this Select Target Variable dropdown. Currently, our dropdown is empty because we have not yet created any global variable. Let's do that real quick. Exit the general node, open the hamburger menu, and below the nodes, you must be able to see the Global Variables section. Click on the plus icon of that section. Since we are making a calculator, we would be only needing integer variables. So I am going to make my first variable, name it as x, and initialize it to 0. Let's make another variable real quick. Name this one as y, initialize it to 0 as well. There, it's done. Now we have 2 global variables. Let's now assign them to the input components. Open the general node, double-click on the input component, and when you click on the Select Target Variable dropdown, you can now see both our global variables present here. I will assign this component to x. Double-click on my other input component and assign this input component to y. Let's now add the options component and make 4 choices for the basic arithmetic operations. Exit the general node now. Open the hamburger menu, drag and drop an set variable node next to our general node. Double-click on the node. As you can see in our set variable node, there are 3 main sections: the target variable, operator, and the value source. The target variable here would be x, since this particular node will perform the addition operation. Our operator would be plus, and in the value source area, you can either hard code a value directly or select a variable to perform your operations. Since we have another variable with which we would perform our operation, I will choose the y variable. Now we're all set. Exit the node, connect the add arrowhead to this set variable node. Let's now make 3 other set variable nodes for other arithmetic operations. There we go. The arithmetic logic is now set. Now all that's left to do is to display our result. So I'm going to open my hamburger menu, drag and drop a general node, double-click on it, add a scene, and now I will be adding the variable component. Double-click on the added component, and now in the Select Target Variable dropdown, which variable am I supposed to choose to display the result? Well, in order to find that, exit your node and open your Set Variables node. In the bottom, you can observe that our computed result is assigned to the x variable. Now that I know which variable is assigned to the result, I can assign our variable component to the x variable. Exit the node, connect the Set Variables node to our General node to display the result. There, our calculator is now ready. Well, you know the drill. Set the root node and let's test our calculator by previewing. For the x variable, I will give the input as 10, click Submit, and for our y variable, I will give the input as 50. Now let's click on the Multiply option. And there we go, my dear Weavers. This is how you can use the global variables on the Weaver. Thank you so much for watching the video till the end. Till next time, bye-bye.